Say, man, it's your boy Ink in the Brain, man. We back at it like a bad habit, man. Shout out to everybody who rock with me, feel me? And shout out to all the new subscribers, you feel me? So, yeah, man, it's just another episode of my prison story. You haven't caught the previous episodes, tune in, but long story short, your boy Inky got 2 years for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. So, talked about what led up to my case, what happened, going through pre-trial, going to sentencing, you know, and then shoot, now I'm in the county, you know, and so, you know, anybody who might be going through a case, fighting a case, or, something of that nature, or you might have to go sit down, whether it's the county, you got to go to the penitentiary. One thing I want you to really digest and remember is that when you hit a new spot, whether it's a new cell block, it's a new yard, whatever, you always want to peep the surroundings and peep the scene. You know what I mean? Learn how to read people's body language and see how they're moving and who's talking to who. And, so that's very important. So, yeah, so I'm in the county, man, and I'll just take it from day 2, right? So, like I said, I woke up that next day. I'm ready to knock my bed out. I'm like, all right, cool, man. I'm trying to work out. So I go out to the little workout area, do my little workout. I come back in. My roommate, or not my roommate, but my cellie, my cellmate, we didn't really talk that much for the first few days. I was really sticking to myself. Like, I wasn't really talking to nobody. I was like, really, my mentality going in was like, man, I'm not rocking with nobody. I'm not here to make no friends with nobody. I don't give a fuck who you are, you know what I mean? I'm here to knock out my time and get back to society. That was it. So that's really how I carried myself through my whole bid. Which led me, I'll get into that more as my story goes on, right? I'm in the cell block, and it's just me and 2 other black dudes, in the whole block. So one of the black dudes, who I'll say his name is S for this situation. So S, he, I think I touched on him in a previous video. He'd done time before. Like, he just did like 2.5, and he was just in the county on like a 90-day violation. But he was the dude that the first night I'm taking a piss, and he walking towards this way on the tier, and he sees me, and then we start talking and shit. That's S. So. And he was like, oh, you gotta do 2 years. And he was kind of making it look like it was a big deal when I was just like, man, it's just 2 years, right? That's S, right? So it's me, S, and then one of the other youngsters, black dude, and I forget his name, but he was in there for 4 or 5 months, and he was fighting like two cases, but he basically was gonna get him run concurrent. Actually, let me touch on this real quick. So yeah, this kid, he in there, right? I think he was like 22 years old, 21, 22 years old. And he had got like a theft case where he had like broken into some yard that sells ATVs, and then he would like steal the ATVs and run off with them pretty much. So he caught a case with that, and then some other case. I forget what the other case was, but literally this dude was illiterate, like he couldn't read, right? And I didn't notice at first, but as the days went on, because I was in the county for 14 days, but I really started to kind of open up and talk to them dudes maybe by day 4 or 5. But I remember I'm downstairs in the day room, and I think I just hopped off the phone with my pops or something, and then he was down there, so we just was talking and shit. And he was like, hey man, can I ask you a favor? He's like, man, can you read this to me or read something? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I took his paper. I'm like, that's weird. So I started reading stuff to him. He's like, okay, well, what does that mean? Because I was like, yeah, this sentence is to run concurrent, and I was reading it out loud. He was like, what does that mean? And then it clicked in my head, like, damn, bro, he's illiterate, man. So it's just crazy, man. Like, you got people out here 21, 22 years old that's illiterate, bro, and it's sad, man, really. But so yeah, so I just want to throw that in there, man. That was eye-opening. But that same dude will come into play in this next story, right? So back to S, right? So it's kind of unavoidable to really stay 100% to yourself in some kind of way, because of the way that the system is set up, is segregated. So you pretty much have to run with your people. So if you blacks, you're gonna run with the blacks. If you're Mexican, you're either gonna run with the Chicanos, which is an American Mexican, or you're gonna run with the Paisas, which are Mexican-born Mexicans. You feel me? So on and so forth. The white boys run with the white boys. So really, as the days went on, I was just kicking in my cell, really like just bored, like just literally. Well, they give you a tablet in there, luckily. You know what I mean? So if you got some money, you can put some money on the tablet. You can watch movies, listen to the radio, and things like that. So I was doing that too on my tablet. But really, I was just in there, just chilling, just laid up, waiting to get shipped out to prison. I'm like, that county jail shit is not cool. They feed you slop. It's just bullshit. In the morning, they feeding you rotten apples with nasty ass peanut butter jelly sandwiches with soy bread. I'm not eating any of that. So basically, in milk. So I'm trading the milk for the apples, because that's really all I could stomach was eating the fruit. And but yeah, all right. So back to that, right? So there was a situation where, okay. Let me start by this. So me and S, we started kind of talking a little bit more and stuff as the days went on. He's big into working out, so he was in the day room doing pull-ups off the stairs. And then I'm like, shit, I'm finna rock out with brother then. So as the days went on, I'm down there working out with him. We're doing the pull-ups off the stairs. We're doing hella push-ups. We're doing lunges around the pod. We rocking. But he working out like mug, and he's not big, but he's crazy cut. Like every muscle on bro you can see. You feel me? 8-pack, like crazy muscular, and he has some heavy hands too. But I forget how I knew he had heavy ass hands, man. I forget, man, but I know he has some heavy ass hands too, right? So, and he did time before, like I said, right? So I'm like, okay. I mean, he seemed like he's solid. So, we kind of talking and stuff. And as I'm laid up in my cell, like him and the other brother will come upstairs and come chop it up with me. And so I'm like, and I ain't gonna lie, I'm in there laid up. I'm just minding my business, man. And they would come. I'm like, damn, man, these niggas again, man. Damn, just leave me alone, bro. But I understand you trying to pass time, so you gonna chop it up with your same race. It is what it is. But all right, so there's a situation, right? So I'm downstairs. No, this was in the morning time, right? So one morning, they wake you up, they pop your door. They're like, it's chow time, so everybody go downstairs and line up and get their morning chow, right? Now, everybody got their chow, and then apparently there was like some extra sacks that nobody took. So the CO like, hey, there's some extra sacks, first come, first serve. So there was this white boy in there named Rebel. And Rebel, I ain't gonna lie, Rebel was pushing a hard line in there. Like when I first got in there, he actually was like running the pod, like I guess you could say, running the pod for like the white boys. And really, to be honest, he was pretty much running the pod for everyone. Not the blacks, obviously, but we was only 3 blacks in there. But like he had the Chicanos at his table, and he was busting down spreads with, and they was all going in with it. So, but Rebel, he was pushing a hard line. Like he had been down before, like he did like 4 years. Or 3 years or something like that, and then he just caught a Fed case, so they was ready to extradite him to Nevada, because he had to do like 4 years in Nevada. But he in there pushing the lines though, I ain't gonna lie, like he, I'm just kind of peeping, like he talking to people crazy, and nobody's really doing nothing to him. He kind of bossing people around, you feel me, and shit like that. So, but if I'm busting their here nor there, nothing for me to be concerned about. Like Rebel was actually cool. Like one morning we went to get chow one morning, and he seen my tats, and he was like, "Oh, you from Cali?" Because he seen my Cali shit. He's like, "Oh, you from Cali?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm from the Bay." He's like, "Okay." He from San Bernardino, and he started showing me his tats, and he had some clean work too. I'm like, "Okay, that's what's up." And he's like, "What you here for?" I'm like, "Man, I just gotta go sit for 2 years real quick." He's like, "Okay, all right, man, good luck." So we was cool. It wasn't what it was, but yeah. So this morning, so boom. CO's like, man, some extra sacks, first come, first serve. So Rebel go up there, and then the black dude go up there, right? And then I think the black dude try to cut. Yeah, that's what happened. Black dude tried to like cut for Rebel, and Rebel like, no, hold on. He's like, no, you see me right here, bro. He was like, nah, bro, I've been here. What you want, right? And he was like, kind of saying it. He wasn't saying it like in a disrespectful way, but he was putting some bass in his voice, if you feel what I'm saying, right? So the black dude, he just looked at him, and he didn't say nothing, and he just walked off into a cell, and he slammed his cell door hella hard like he was pissed because he couldn't get that check, right? And then S has seen it, because S was down there too. S has seen it. And then, so, pretty much S was like, long story short, S had a problem with the way that Rebel went about that situation, pretty much, right? So S is feeling a certain type of way about that, right? So, all right, so boom, so they kind of, as the day, so maybe that situation happened tomorrow, so maybe a day passes by and that's in the air, right? And as that day passed by, like, you know, we're downstairs, like, because at night they pop the doors and you can go downstairs and use the phone, and they have a little TV out there in the lounge, you can watch TV and shit. So, you know, you just, when we down there, you just kind of overhearing S and Rebel kind of going back and forth about it. You know what I mean? Like nothing too crazy, nothing too, like I said, nothing too disrespectful, but they just kind of yapping. You feel me? It's like two so-called pit bulls kind of barking at each other, right? So one night, I'll just say maybe the next night or something, because like I said, this is over a span of like a couple days. So I'm down there, I'm just sitting up against the kiosk, because they got a kiosk where, you know, you see names and business stuff like that on there. I'm just posted up on the kiosk, and I'm just looking at the game, or not the game, there's a movie on there. And that pissed me off about the county too. Everybody want to watch movies and bullshit and not the game. I'm the only one want to put the game on, but that's neither here nor there. But so I'm watching the movie, and then so it's S is there, and then Rebel, he's like on the other side of the park too. So, and again, they start yapping, right? And then it starts escalating. It starts to get a little bit more disrespectful, right? So they kind of yap in, and I'm like, okay, it's looking like somebody's about to chunk them. You know what I mean? So they talking, and then Rebel's like, he said something, man. He's like, okay. He's like, well, shit, locking my cell in, or not nigga, but you know, he's like, man, locking my cell in. You want to do something about it, bro? You talking all this all loud in front of people, bro? Let's go in the cell, right? And I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, cause I knew going into the joint. You feel me? I'm not no gangster by any means. Like I said, I'm not a sucker or nothing, but definitely not no gangster. Farthest thing from the street nigga and all that shit, right? But I know that if you turn down a fade in the joint, it's gonna be bad for you. You might as well just get your, you know what I mean, put your hands up, do your shit, and then you pretty much you good. But yeah, they barking, right? So I'm like, all right, well, it looks like S and Rebel gonna have to chuck him, right? So they talking, and then S is like, oh, for real? Okay, we'll get out right here then. What do you want? And I'm like, bro, S, you know better than this, bro. All these cameras in this pod like this, bro, and the CO and the like, bro, you talking crazy in front of everybody. Nah, go lock it in. Just like Rebel said, you're supposed to go in the cell, lock it in, and bang it out, and then shit, come out and it's Gucci, right? But nah, S is just barking, and he like, nah. He was like, I remember him saying, man, real gangsters get out where they mad at anywhere, anytime, what they want. I'm like, yeah, to a certain degree that's true, but nah, this is county jail, bro. There's hella cameras in here. That's a crash out move. You're not supposed to do that shit. You're not supposed to crash out in front of the police. That's a no-no. Like, that's a no-go, right? So Rebel he's like, oh, okay. He's like, and this is when he took it to the top. Rebel okay. He's like, I see what kind of dude you are. You want to fight for the police and have him come in here and pepper spray everybody. He's like, but you won't come in and handle the one-on-one in my cell. He's like, man, you a bitch. Yeah, because you a bitch. What do you want? And then it was like, damn. And then everybody looking like, it was like, whoever was eating their spread or watching it, it was like, And then you could just, and then it was dead ass quiet. And the Rebel just going bad on S, right? I'm like, oh, I'm like, this white boy. And Rebel wasn't a big white boy either. Like, he was probably S's size, maybe a little bit smaller. I guess he had been like in the army or something, they said before, or something like that. So he kind of, he kind of thought he was hot shit, kind of a hothead, I guess you could say. But I ain't gonna lie, in this situation, Rebel handled it how he's supposed to handle it. You feel me? So he called him to the cell. S doing all this barking. He wouldn't go locking it in the cell. And then, and he like, I want to say he pushed up on him. No, S pushed up on him, and he was like, he's like, man, you want to take off on me right here? Or you want to take off on me right here? And Rebel was like, I'm not going to crash out. You feel me? So it's going back and forth. But basically, Rebel disrespected the fuck out of S. I almost said his name. Disrespected the fuck, called him a bitch and all this shit, right? And then he like, man, you a bitch. You don't even want. He's like, man, you a suck all this shit. And then he walk off. And then S, he kind of sees that, he pretty much got embarrassed. And then now he starts copping pleas lightweight. He like, okay, I'll be a bitch, but I'm going home in 90 days. I'll be a bitch. I'm going home with my family. What you want? Yeah, you gotta go sit down the pen. But yeah, I'll be a bitch when you want. I'm like, bro. And it just showed me, right? The main point to this story that I'm telling y'all here, right, is this. You don't have to go into jail or go into prison being something that you're not. In fact, that's the quickest way to get fucked off is going in there thinking that you bad shit, you know what I'm saying, and not living up to that standard. Because really well, that's another, I'll get to that stuff later, but you do not want to be something that you're not going into the joint, man. And turning down phase is very, very dangerous. You feel me? Because luckily, in my case, right, I'm not no super gangster, and I don't really care. You feel me? Like, that's your business. If you talking and barking all this shit, right, and then somebody calls you out for a one-on-one in the cell and you don't handle that, I mean, that's on you, bro. But I don't really want to be around you because I know shit like that travels. You feel me? And if that was on a high yard, he would have got maxed out. Like, S would have got maxed out for that. So yeah, don't go to joint being something that you're not. You feel me? You will be respected as long as you just aren't in there for no wild shit, no child molestation, rape, no crazy nothing. You didn't tell on your co-defendant, nothing like that. I mean, really, for the most part, you feel me? You're gonna be good. But when I saw S do that, I was like, bro, you doing all this barking. You was telling me all these prison stories. You feel me? How you beat up 3 dudes on all this shit, right? So I'm like, okay, you beating up 3 niggas in the joint, but this white boy call you out in the pod in front of everybody. You can't go and handle a one-on-one. So be aware of them dogs that's all barking, no bite. You feel me? That's basically what I'm saying, man. And then after that happened, right? Because the 2 brothers, they really respected me because they saw how I was rocking and moving. Like, they was like, and then I started kind of opening up, and they started realizing who I am on the outside stuff. So now they're trying to pick my brain and, see what kind of stuff I'm on the outside and stuff. So, but after that happened, I was just like, man, I'm like, S, bro, I can't. This ain't good, bro. Because if somebody comes in the block and they see me around you and they hear about that and then they see me on the yard or something, that can look bad on me. So. But basically, so the night before they rolled me up, or actually the night that they did roll me up to send me to Alhambra, which is going to be what I'll touch on next, and this is just when it gets real hectic. No, actually, excuse me, that wasn't that morning. After that happened, right, after that situation happened when he turned down that fade with Rebel, because S was actually on the cell next to me. So he called me up to the cell one night, or like later on that night, and he was like, hey, tell me the truth, bro. Do you think I'm a bitch for that? Do you think I'm a bitch for that, bro? And I'm like, look, man, that's neither here for me to say. You did what you felt like you had to do, and that's it. You feel me? It is what it is. You feel me? And you're just like, but I'm like, you asking my opinion on if I think you're a bitch on that after you got called a bitch in front of everybody and didn't take the fade with this white boy, like. Safe to say, I mean, hey, I think you can answer that. Okay. but hey, this your boy Inky the Brave, man. Y'all be smooth. I'm gonna be back on another episode soon.
I'll holler.